its deadline to take down their Gaza protest camp. With protests at 20 universities, police moving in today at UNC Chapel Hill and at Yale, where they removed the Gaza tent city. Former President Donald Trump at court in New York says President Biden needs to step it up.
He's got to get out and make a statement because the colleges are being overrun in this country. The anti-Semitism, all of the problems going on, they're being overrun. I've never seen anything like it.
The Trump trial resuming with a judge fining Trump $9,000 for violating his gag order 9 times, but also indicating the former president can take a day off for his son Barron's graduation in May. America's listening to Fox News.
In the news center, I'm Stephen Stone. After seeing neighboring counties prosper and grow, Chester County is starting to feel some of that growth from a residential and industrial standpoint. Chester County Director of Economic Development, Robert Long.
You go back to Chester County 100 years, our population has been almost unchanged. It's been around 33,000 for 100 years. Now, I think we're finally at a point where we're starting to see sustained residential growth. I think a big part of this first wave is folks that have been priced out of the market in Rock Hill. You know, Rock Hill has historically been that more budget-friendly community. Well, right now, for new construction, a house is going to cost you more than $400,000. It's jumped $150,000 just in the last 2 or so years in Rock Hill. Whereas you can buy the exact same house in Chester right now for $100,000 to $125,000 less. And that's what's driving this first wave.
And voters are not concerned with Donald Trump's criminal cases. That's what South Carolina Senator Lindsey Graham told CNN's State of the Union. Graham said the trials against Trump are politically motivated, calling it selective prosecution. He says Americans are more concerned with their own problems, not Trump's.
WRHI Rock Hill, W261CY Rock Hill. Good Pharmacy, Rock Hill's hometown pharmacy for over 60 years. Camden Avenue at Ebenezer Road. Straight Talk on WRHI FM 100.1 and CN2 is presented by Founders Federal Credit Union. Relax, you're with Founders. Now here's Manning Kimmel broadcasting live from Substation 2 on Cherry Road in Rock Hill with Straight Talk, selected by the South Carolina Broadcasters Association as the state's top public affairs program.
And a good afternoon. Welcome into Substation 2, Cherry Road across from Winthrop for another edition of our Straight Talk program presented by Founders Federal Credit Union. Relax, you're with Founders. Our thanks to our co-sponsor today, Comporium, your friendly neighborhood tech giant. Piedmont Medical Center is with us today, a community built on care, and you can find out more about them online at piedmontmedicalcenter.com. So, you know, every once in a while you run into somebody just by happenstance that when you hear a little bit of their story, it just bowls you over. And this lady who I've got here in front of me, her name is Cheryl Scott. She actually was in the studios helping to produce a commercial. She works for Comporium. She'll tell you about that. And we just swung into chit-chatting about what she had been through. And I said, whoa, I got to get you. I said, I'd love to talk about this. I said, okay, we're going to do this. So here she is. Her name is Cheryl Scott. She has an incredible story about her battle with ovarian cancer, and we're going to talk about that. So tell everybody a little bit about you before we get into this battle story, okay?
Okay, so I am Cheryl Scott. I'm 66 years old. I'm an Army brat. My dad did 20 years in the Army, so I've literally lived around the world. And I have a wonderful son, Robert Alexander Campbell, and beautiful daughter-in-law and 4 grandchildren. And then I have a daughter who is my right arm through especially this particular journey that the 3 of us have been on, the 4 of us really.
Yeah, that's something. Yeah. Wow. So you're an Army brat. Can you remember some of the places you
Oh, absolutely. So I was born in Fort Campbell, Kentucky. And I did kindergarten and first grade in Bad Kissingen, Germany. And Frau Miller was not going to speak English, so I had to learn German.
Do you still speak German?
I don't speak, but I understand.
You understand?
I understand a little bit of it.
Okay.
And I've lived in Massachusetts and Georgia and Texas and Rochester, New York and Niagara Falls.
I got it. Okay.
All over.
You've been all over.
New Jersey.
Okay. So you've been with Comporium. How long have you been with Comporium?
I was hired in November of 2019.
2019.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So your world got rocked in late 2023. Is that correct? 22. Late 2022. And what happened?
Well, it really goes back until May of 2022. I started having pain on my right side. And I thought because I had hysterectomy. I'd had my fallopian tubes and ovaries removed. So I just thought it has to be gastrointestinal, as did my medical professionals. So we did endoscopy, colonoscopy. Nothing really showed up on there, and the pain never went away. It got lighter with steroids, or so I thought. And then December 8th of 2022, I must have laid on this tumor, and I literally leapt out of my bed. I started crying, and I knew something was very wrong, so I went right to my patient portal. I said, I need to see someone this morning.
Wow. Woo. So you went to sleep, and you just jumped right up because whatever was inside of you, you rolled over.
Let me know it was there.
Jeez. Okay, so you did the patient portal thing.
Yes.
And you get into the hospital or the doctor's office or whatever, and then what happens?
Well, you could see the question mark on the physician's assistant's face because it didn't make sense what I was feeling, because it just didn't make sense. Nothing is on any of my exams, so let's do a CAT scan just to find out what's going on. And they did a CAT scan, and they saw a tumor about the size of a baseball.
Really?
Really.
So all of a sudden your world is rocked.
It was almost like an out-of-body experience. I cannot believe this is happening.
Okay, so I have to think that there was a few days of thinking about what your options were, or did you just jump right on it?
I jumped right in because I have the BRCA1 gene mutation, which is why I had my ovaries and fallopian tubes removed. I also had a prophylactic double mastectomy to make sure that I got rid of any possibility of being diagnosed with either breast cancer or ovarian cancer.
So how did you know you had this gene? You have family history with this?
I have a family history, but I really have to give all praise to my, I relocated from Rochester, New York in January 2015. And of course you need new doctors when you relocate. So I found this doctor, and in my first visit she said, I don't like your family history. So she said, I'd like to do genetic testing. And I said, okay, when do we schedule it? She said, no, I'm walking you to the lab right now.
Oh, geez.
She literally walked me to the lab, wrote the orders. She's stayed there, sealed the envelope, and sent it off. And I thank God for her because I believe she saved my life. My doctor in Rochester had never done any genetic testing, which should have happened. But thank goodness for Dr. Emily Parson, who just said, I want to know. And it came back positive. I had the gene mutation for both breast cancer and ovarian cancer.
So you took the bull by the horns.
Well, I had watched my mother die of ovarian cancer at 48 and my sister die of breast cancer at 41.
Wow.
So I was not playing with the idea of cancer in my body.
Good for you. All right, so you dealt with all that. And then you, as you say, you went to bed one night, rolled over the wrong way, and all of a sudden, boom, you're vertical. And you go to the doctor's office. They do the CAT scan or whatever it is, see if there's a tumor in there. And what happens?
So after they see the tumor, they need to know what type of tumor it is. So they immediately send me for blood work. And each cancer has an antigen that tells you what type of cancer it is. And for ovarian cancer, it's cancer antigen 125 or CA125. So if 0 to 30 is no cancer in your body and 300 count is your stage 4, I had a count of 118. So now we know it's ovarian cancer. After that, I had a transvaginal ultrasound so they could get the dimensions of the tumor. And after that, I had an MRI. And that's what really blew me over because it wasn't just one big tumor. It was a lot of little tumors.
Hey, so once they had this information and the doc looked at this, what was the doctor's comment to you? Was it, we can fix this, or I don't know whether we can fix this, or what?
Well, I have to thank my entire group of doctors who have me still here. Dr. Janelle Fossey, very kind, very straightforward. It was December 30th, and now we have all the pictures and we have all the blood tests, and she comes right out and says, you have at least stage 3 ovarian cancer, and I'd like to operate. Normally we like to do chemo first, but because of the number of tumors and the size of the tumor, I think we need to do surgery. And I said to her, let's go. And she could not believe that I didn't want a second opinion or more testing.
Yeah.
And I just said, it's already been in my body. I don't know how long. And by the way, how long do you think it's been there? She said, probably about 6 months. I said, it got this bad in 6 months? And she said, yes. And it took me back to when I started feeling the pain on my right side in May.
There you go.
Bingo.
Bingo.
That was the tumor telling me it was there.
So I guess if there's one message out of this story, is all of us need to pay attention to our body.
Absolutely.
When it starts to hurt, there's a reason, and you got to figure it out and stop playing doctor after a couple of weeks. If you think you know more than the doctor does, you're wrong.
Right.
That's why we have doctors. That's why we have hospitals. That's why we do what we do.
Exactly.
All right, so we scheduled the surgery. Is that
before I left the doctor's office? I had a surgery date of January 12th.
so? We're now about 10 days from when you had the diagnosis?
Yes, it was December 30th when we knew exactly, and my surgery is scheduled. Before I left, I had a surgery date. I wanted one.
I don't blame you.
Yeah.
Let's do this thing.
Yeah.
All right. So what were those 10 days like? Waiting.
The 10 days were, first of all, I had to tell my children.
Oh, my.
So I did a Zoom call with them because I wanted my son, my daughter-in-law, and my daughter to know everything at the same time. I did not let my daughter go to my doctor's appointments. I wanted to have all the information before I presented it to them. And so on a call, I've got my daughter here, she lives in Indian Land, and I have my son and my daughter-in-law in Rochester, New York. And I just said, there's no easy way to tell you this, but I've been diagnosed with ovarian cancer. And my daughter-in-law, my son and my daughter-in-law were both on the screen, and then my son stepped away. And my daughter-in-law looked at me, and she said, I'm going to call you right back. Because he had watched my father die of non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. He had seen my mom die. My sister was his favorite aunt. So he had seen what cancer can do, and he was just totally overwhelmed. But he came right back a little bit later, and he was like, so what are we doing? And I said, surgery, and I'm going to have chemo.
So my guess is the kids wanted to come down, be with you.
Yes.
And they did.
Yes, my son was here. I have 5 grandchildren in Rochester, so my daughter-in-law stayed there, but my daughter I live in Fort Mill, and she lives in Indian Land. So he flew down the night before surgery, and Dr. Fossey wrote an order that I could have both my kids in the room with me because he had traveled so far. Usually it's just one person they allow, but she let them both be with me because of the situation and the travel and how serious everything was.
So did the doctor before the surgery indicate that the chances were good that she could, get out what needed to come out?
Well, what she did was, that first exam, she just said the tumor is stuck. So she knew she couldn't do a laparoscopy. She was going to have to cut me open.
Right.
So that was a deep breath. And then she didn't say anything about cure. She did say that she had taken my images to a conference the Friday before my surgery, which was on Thursday, I believe. And she said that there was going to be another surgeon, someone that she would want to be in the room. His name was Dr. William Fowler. He's since retired. But she said if I had to have surgery, I'd want him there too, because it is massive what we're going to have to do. And I said, so how long do you think the operation will be? She's like, about 5.5 hours.
Oh, my God.
It turned out to be 7 hours.
Huh.
He found 27 tumors.
27 tumors?
They had to remove my spleen, 2 sections of my liver, part of my diaphragm, and the sheath off my bladder because the tumors were trying to get to my bladder. He literally found 27 tumors. And he promised me that before he closed, he would make sure that he had found everyone, which is why it took him 7 hours.
Whoa.
Overwhelming.
Okay. Yeah, overwhelming is right. So I would imagine you were pretty well, exhausted when all this was.
And the other thing that happened, because I was under so long, I went into AFib and renal failure. So my kids now, you can only imagine, they're thinking, okay, she's got cancer, now her heart isn't acting right and her kidneys aren't acting right. And so when I came to in recovery, I just asked them, I said, what's the pathology? And they looked at each other, and I could tell from their faces that it wasn't good. And I just said, never mind. I'll hear it later.
Oh. Okay, so you're in the hospital how long?
11 days.
11 days. And during that 11 days, you were trying to get your strength back.
Exactly.
You learned the pathology report during those 11 days. Wasn't good, right?
Wasn't good, but the positive thing was no lymph nodes were involved.
Ah.
And so that means that the blood system has not taken this from anywhere from the area, which they call the right peritoneal cancer. So the entire area of your abdomen can be involved, but it's stopped right there.
Oh, boy. Okay, so before the 11 days is up, the your team of doctors is coming back and say, okay, this is the next step we have to go through.
Yeah, chemo.
Right? Chemo. And with that, we're going to take a break because this is an incredible story. Woo! Woo! Okay, so let us remind you that you are listening to Straight Talk live from Substation 2, Cherry Road across from Winthrop, presented by Founders Federal Credit Union. Relax here with Founders. And by Comporium, your friendly neighborhood tech giant. Good Pharmacy is with us, your hometown pharmacy. Ebenezer Road at Camden Avenue in Rock Hill. So as you can see, Cheryl, we are surrounded by people who've got nothing better to do than be here, have lunch with me, and recite us what's going to happen here. We do fresh subs and salads. We do it 6 days a week at Substation 2. Joe, wake up over there. Here we go. At the count of three, what do we do? 1, 2, 3.
Slice, 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 garden, garden, garden.
There you go. Back after these words.
If it's 12:30, it's Straight Talk on WRHI and CN2.
Have you ever wondered why so many people enjoy dining at Substation 2?
It's just always a great, consistent meal.
Enjoy the Italian sub with salami.
I enjoy just the atmosphere.
I'm Charlie Ruffalo, and I guarantee you'll feel the same way after eating here at Substation 2, Cherry Road across from Winthrop.
When you're getting a bundle from Comporium, you're getting an all-seeing, all-knowing personal security detail. You're getting shows. And shows, and, oh yeah, more shows. You're getting a social calendar filled with family game time, game day get-togethers, and don't worry, we saved you a spot on the couch parties, because we're not just your internet company. We're your yes to all of the above company.
Dr. Carrie Watson, the trauma medical director at Piedmont Medical Center, says she's very proud of what's being accomplished at Piedmont.
We are able to do robotic surgery. We are a robotic center of excellence, and that's robotic surgery for general surgery like gallbladders, hernias, colon. We also have robotic urology, so that's things like kidney removals and things with your bladder. We also have robotic neurosurgery that we're doing, and that's pretty amazing. Not a lot of places have that.
Piedmont Medical Center, a community built on care.
When disaster strikes, one of the most important things is getting life back to normal. A little compassion can go a long way. Paul Davis is here for you. Paul Davis is committed to handling any property damage with exceptional care because what we do is about more than property. It's about people. We have the training and expertise necessary to completely restore your property fast. For all your cleanup and restoration needs, call the experts at Paul Davis Restoration at 329-1140 or find us online at pauldavisrockhill.com.
Relax with a discounted mortgage rate from Founders Federal Credit Union without paying for discount points. For a limited time, don't pay the 1% fee and get the lower rate. And don't forget, Founders never charges for PMI or private mortgage insurance. Unlock your dream home with a great rate and a Founders expert to guide you through the home financing process. Stop by a convenient office location or apply on Founders online by May 31st to lock in your lower rate. Visit foundersfcu.com/mortgage to learn more. Terms and conditions apply. Membership qualification required. Equal housing lender.
Have you ever wondered why so many people enjoy dining at Substation 2?
Love the bread. Number 19's the best.
Fresh, delicious bread.
It's fresh.
The food is really good, and it's a great price.
I'm Charlie Ruffalo, and I guarantee you'll feel the same way after eating here at Substation 2, Cherry Road across from Winthrop.
Straight Talk on WRHI FM 100.1 and CN2 is brought to you by Founders Federal Credit Union. Relax, you're with Founders.
And back we are here at Substation 2, Cherry Road across from Winthrop. A very interesting story. This lady has got, she's got the right stuff. Her name is Cheryl Scott. She lives here in Fort Mill. She works for Comporium. And we're talking about a life and death battle that she has won. I'm going to say she's won it.
Amen.
Ovarian cancer. She's been through, jeez, I couldn't believe it. They find 27 tumors inside of her, a 7-hour operation. And that's not enough. The pathology report comes back and says, this is not good. But the good side was it had not spread to the lymph nodes, which is good. So, Cheryl, they say to you, you're going to have chemotherapy, right?
You're going to have chemo.
Okay.
Yep.
So what was that like? Besides awful.
Different people. I don't understand how so. And I admire folks who can still work and go through chemo, but just imagine, because of the extreme number of tumors and all the organs that were involved, they had to give me the strongest chemo drug that's out there, and it's Taxol. And imagine headache, every joint in your body aching, nausea, vomiting. You could have diarrhea or constipation, depends on the day. And you have absolutely no appetite. You can't keep anything down. And so I would, my first interaction with, and it was an interaction, I had the pre-medication for nausea, which is Emend, E-M-E-N-D. Well, we found out I was allergic to that. So they put this into my IV, and the next thing I know, my back starts to roll in knots, and I start having trouble breathing, and I'm screaming, I can't breathe. And my son, who has a great sense of humor, just said, I'm so glad Kirsten isn't here, because my daughter would have been totally freaking. He's very calm in the crunch. And so they had EpiPen in each thigh and 5 hours in emergency, so I can never have that drug again. So then they had to cancel chemo because I can't get it. So now I'm thinking, okay, this cancer's still in my body. We've got to get this going. So they were able to get me, my first chemo was supposed to be February 2nd. They ended up being able to do it on February 9th. The staff at Matthews Hospital and Novant, absolutely amazing. And I met a lady there who was ringing the bell. And for those of you who know about chemo, you ring the bell when you finish your treatment. And this woman was ringing the bell, and she had her family with her, and all I could do was weep, because I said, okay, this is a divine appointment. I was supposed to be at Matthews and not Novant. I was supposed to see this woman ring the bell because I know it's possible to finish. And then she came, my son went over to her and just congratulated her on finishing. He gave a little bit about my story. And she came over and just told me, you're going to be okay. She also gave me there are things that you can wear to stop neuropathy, the cold hand gloves that are in ice and feet. And she gave me all of her equipment, which I too passed on to a patient who was just starting when I rang the bell on June 30th. But it was encouraging, and she texted me throughout. But it was the absolute worst thing. I had to sleep with pillows between my knees so my bones didn't touch. I mean, my hair started falling out like the beginning of March, and I decided to shave it. I didn't want a little bit coming off here and there, so I had my niece come, and Tyler shaved my head, and we made a joke of it the whole time. My daughter was there, and my nephew and my niece, and we just, for an hour and a half, just joked about the fact that I had a great shaped head to be bald.
Her hair has returned, by the way.
It is returning, slowly but surely, but it's coming back.
So you were on this chemo program.
Yes.
How many months?
6 treatments.
Which means what?
Every 21 days.
Every 21 days?
Every 21 days.
So basically 6 months.
6 months, exactly.
And how does that treatment work? I mean, when you say...
Well, when I was in the hospital for my first small bowel obstruction in March, they actually put a port in me, which is a device that connects your jugular, and so that all you have to do is just access that instead of dealing with your veins every time. So you just go in, they give you medication to relax you, they give you fluids to get you ready for what you're about to face, they give you pre-nausea medication, and then it's about a 6-hour process from start to finish when you get there till you leave of one treatment. And by the 6th treatment, I was so sick I came in a wheelchair.
Jeez.
I couldn't walk, and they could not give me the full strength of the chemo.
So the treatment would last how long? I mean, you were in there
6 hours.
6 hours,
Yes.
and then you come back in 21 days and do it again.
Correct.
And then 21.
Yeah.
Do this 6 times.
And you dread coming, but you know it works. But you also know for about 10 days 7 to 10 days you're gonna feel awful. Then you start feeling better. You get a little small appetite, and then you got to go back and do it all over again.
So when did you start to see some light at the end of the tunnel?
I didn't see light until I met with my oncologist in July, because every month I have to have blood tests. And I watched the numbers going down from 118 to 74 to 50 to 30 to 20, it kept going down. And at that appointment in July, my oncologist said, "You're in remission."
Woo!
And that was the best
yeah.
words I could hear, because it was just like everything that I went through, the surgery, the small bowel obstructions, the chemo, was worth hearing. You're in remission. And I'm still currently in remission. I am on a chemo pill,
Right.
Lynparza, for 2 years. And hopefully after 2 years, there'll be another drug I can take. I can't take it any longer than 2 years
Sure.
because the studies have shown that anyone on Lynparza after 2 years, they are diagnosed with a uncurable bone cancer. So I have to stop it right at 2 years.
Wow. So you're tested like what, every month or every 3
Every
months?
month I have my blood work done. I have a CAT scan every 4 months, and I see the oncologist every 3 months.
So I would be remiss if I didn't say you must have had a great employer to put up with all of this.
Oh my gosh. I cannot put into words how Comporium just stood with me. As my the director, he knew I was not quite right, and I didn't want to tell anyone like right away, because I didn't want that face of people being sad for you. And then when I mentioned it to our manager, Lori, she said, "You're not yourself. Come into my office." And I went into her office and I told her, and the first thing she did is she hugged me. She said, "You're going to be okay." And then she took me right back to my laptop so I could fill out the FMLA papers, the short-term disability. She walked me through what I needed to do, because you can't even think straight. You're thinking about your health, not your job. But Comporium was thinking about my job. So they made sure I had when I say HR, made sure that every deadline was, they would say, we need new documentation. Guardian, our insurance company, exceptional. But between Brandon and Lori and my supervisors, and they can't ask you how you're doing because of HIPAA and all of that. But I did have members of my team who would send little texts thinking about you. And some of them didn't even know what was going on. They just knew I wasn't there.
So your message to others that you run into that are battling cancer has got to be on the line of don't give up. Just don't ever even think about giving up, because you can do it.
Exactly. You don't know how strong you are until you have to be. And there were times when my son would come to my bedroom door, and I would just cover my eyes because I didn't want to see his eyes looking at me the way they were looking at me. But by seeing him, I knew I had to fight. And seeing my daughter and my grands, when I found out my son had to tell them why he was coming to South Carolina for an extended visit, he told my grandchildren, not the youngest, not Raina, the 5-year-old, but the boys. And my daughter-in-law said they just leapt up and just hugged him so tight, and everyone is just weeping. And when I heard that story, I'm like, I have to fight. And I promised them all, my grands and my children, when I say my children, I'm including my daughter-in-law, that I'm going to fight as long as I can. But we've also had the discussion, you only have to have it once. If they say that there's nothing more we can do, we know what we're going to do.
Yeah.
I've already picked. They already know the picture on my program. They know where I want to be buried. I want to be cremated. I had to have this conversation with them.
Sure.
And then we never have to have it again.
There you go. Needless to say, this thing called life means probably more to you now than it ever did before. Correct?
Correct. I don't. One of the things I do is I don't hold anything. If I have an argument with someone or a disagreement, it's like, you know what? This is not important. Let's keep moving. Because I don't want someone to say the last words she said to me were, if it wasn't I love you, then they're not telling the truth. That's how I end every conversation with my family and loved ones. And they know that I'm going to fight as long as I can. But life, when you start, yes, we have bills and yes, we have aches and pains, but when you're facing the fact that you might not be here, you just look at everything differently.
Sure.
I travel more.
Oh, yeah.
I spend more time with my kids.
Good.
I just look at life in a totally different way. And I look at patients who are going through in a totally different way as well.
So I can tell you this for the listeners, if you ever have to call Comporium because you have a service problem, there's probably a good chance you might get this lady's voice on there. True. And she's as sweet in solving your problem as she is on the telling the story. Yes. This has been a real treasure. Great program.
You're a blessing, Manny, just to get this word out.
This program will be preserved forever on WRHI.com. You can whip it out anytime you need to whip it out.
Beautiful.
To tell somebody you can do this. Because you have done it. There you go.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Well, Cheryl, thank you for being here and telling us the story. That was a great one. Great story. And that's going to wrap up our Straight Talk program live from Substation 2, Cherry Road across from Winthrop, presented by Founders Federal Credit Union. Relax here with Founders. And by Comporium, your friendly neighborhood tech giant. Now, once again, I am going to rally this group of hooligans over here who dined for lunch. We have everybody from, well, never mind. You don't want to know. We do, and Buster just showed up. Here we go. We do fresh subs and salads. We do them 6 days a week. There is a way we do them. It's in the white letters for everybody who's not been here before. At the count of three, let's tell the big world out there what's going on. 1, 2, 3.
Slice, slice, slice. Guard.
Have yourself a wonderful day, and we'll see you on the radio tomorrow. Bye.
South Carolina's most honored radio station. News Talk 100.1 WRHI Rock Hill. W261CY Rock Hill. The voice of York County.
An OTS media station.
Crackdowns on campus. I'm Lisa Brady, Fox News. But that means different things at different schools. Fox's Molly Line at Yale University.
Personnel issued final warnings that protesters in this encampment that had been set up on Sunday afternoon on Yale's Cross campus had to end the encampment or face discipline, including suspension for violating university rules and arrest for trespassing. All of the protesters chose to leave the encampment.
Tents have also been cleared at the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, after arrests. School officials say protesters had backtracked on a commitment to follow policies. No arrest reported at Columbia University, where pro-Palestinian protesters took control of a building overnight.
All of this happened after the 2 p.m. deadline expired yesterday and Columbia University began suspending students. It is now limited access into the main campus of Columbia University during final exam time.
Fox's Brian Yennis. The White House says forcibly occupying buildings is wrong and not peaceful protesting. Education Secretary Miguel Cardona says he's concerned about reports of anti-Semitism.
It's unacceptable, and we're committed as a Department of Education to adhering to Title VI enforcement. We have 137 open cases. We take this very seriously.
Title VI is an anti-discrimination provision of the Federal Civil Rights Act. One House Republican proposal would expand the anti-Semitism definition, aiming to cut federal funding to colleges not enforcing Title VI. House Democratic Caucus Chair Pete Aguilar.
They need to, they have guidance, they have rules, they need to enforce those before Congress creates new ones.
He also says safety must be ensured on campuses. Former President Trump back in court in New York, where his first criminal trial continues.
It's a disgrace to the New York state and city court system. And all of the cases are, frankly, all of them are.
The New York judge holding him in contempt today for 9 gag order violations over social media posts and campaign statements about witnesses and others. America is listening to Fox News.
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for up to half the cost. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up and call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Savings based on cost of Consumer Cellular single line 1, 5, and 10 gig data plans with unlimited talk and text compared to lowest cost single line postpaid unlimited talk, text, and data plans offered by T-Mobile and Verizon January 2024.
Hi, I'm Martha Stewart. Every year, more than 4 million pets enter shelters here in the United States. My friends at American Humane have been helping animals since 1877. The goal is to ensure that pets have a safe shelter, especially during natural disasters. Adopting a shelter pet allows shelters to help more animals awaiting care. Please consider adopting today and take some time to learn more about American Humane's other work at americanhumane.org.
In the News Center, I'm Stephen Stone.
And so we're cutting down trees, freeing trees off of homes, trees that block access to driveways and to houses. We're cutting it up, moving it, getting it to the curb where the city can move it, and tarping up houses that have been damaged and just trying to help the homeowners.
That is Mike Wallace of the New York Baptist Association in Rock Hill. Crews from all over the city and county are chipping in as they continue to clean up and repairs where needed on the south side of Rock Hill. That's where majority of the damage was done by the hailstorm last Saturday. Wallace says they've also partnered with emergency management on phone calls on where to go for help. The New York Baptist Association consists of over 75 diverse congregations with a total membership exceeding 28,000. And retired airman Franklin Valverde Jr. is sentenced to federal prison for providing illegal access to digital streaming services, making hundreds of thousands of dollars by selling access codes for Dish Network and Sling TV's entire video library. He was formerly stationed at Shaw Air Force Base. Valverde has received a 12-month prison sentence followed by 3 years of supervision upon release.
We are wrapping up the month of April today across the Tri-County with a fairly quiet start out there, but we will be watching for a risk for some showers and storms this afternoon. Nothing really widespread expected, no big severe weather threats for today, but a brief heavy downpour with some lightning could be possible as we work our way into late afternoon and early evening. So do keep the umbrellas with you. That chance of rain will diminish overnight tonight. Fairly quiet day for tomorrow. We're back in the mid-80s, much lower chance of rain, upper 80s Thursday. I'm meteorologist Keith Monday from Channel 9 Eyewitness News.
This is Chuck Roberts with Ideal Imports West in Rock Hill. If you're looking for high-quality used cars or trucks, we're the place to be. Every unit we sell comes with a free drivetrain warranty, plus we provide on-spot financing for you. Ideal Imports West at the corner of Celanese and Rollinson Road, next to Marshall Construction.
Don't let an injury hurt your game. The MUSC Health Sports Medicine team of physicians, athletic trainers, and physical therapists evaluate and treat athletes of all ages. Go to muschealth.org/sports to learn how they can help you get back in the game. With 3 convenient locations in Indianland, Lancaster, and Chester, our team is dedicated to providing you the excellent care you deserve. MUSC Health Orthopedics and Sports Medicine, the new team in town. MUSC Health is the official sports medicine provider for Chester and Lancaster County School Districts.
Many people are confused about insurance, and that's the whole purpose behind the weekly program series, What You Don't Understand About Insurance. This is Watts Huckabee. My intent is to make insurance easier to understand and to help you navigate coverage and premium options and make